Welcome everybody to our Zoomer Boomer, the senior safety, workshop webinar, our wonderful Friday. So we have today Constable Erin Brown, and we're happy to have her here. And we'll get started right away. So Brigitte, would you like to start us off, please?
Yes, thank you, Alan. So nice to see you, everyone, even though you can't see me. I will be a camera off person today. I would like to welcome Constable Erin Brown, and I'll just share her bio with you all. So Constable Erin Brown is an experienced police officer with over 2 decades of service in various units. She's worked in frontline patrol, criminal investigations branch, uniform recruiting, and major collisions investigations, and is currently serving in senior safety. Outside of her work, Constable Brown is a proud mother of 2 teenagers, one of whom is now driving. She also shares her home with 2 rescue pets, a dog named Luna and a cat named Boots. As an outdoor enthusiast, she enjoys spending her free time with activities such as camping, playing soccer, and kayaking. With her years of experience and expertise, Constable Brown is a valuable member of the police force, dedicated to ensuring the safety and security of our community. So welcome, Constable Erin Brown.
Thank you very much, Brigitte. I laugh every time when I hear that part about having a teenager that's driving now, and I'm sure all of you are like, oh, cursing, right? Those new drivers on the road. So if you can't hear me, please let me know. I do like this to be interactive as possible. So if you have questions, ask as we go along. If it's some information that's going to come up later on, I'll get you to just hold on to that question till we come to it. But I do like to kind of goof around and throw some jokes out there. So please, hopefully you'll laugh. Hopefully they're not too silly, but they're trying to make it fun, right? Sometimes these topics can be pretty serious and can be upsetting. So I will be showing you some videos. There are not any audio to these videos. One of them does show a little bit of violence, but I'll let you know which one that is in case you don't want to watch it. It just kind of shows things that could happen, and we'll discuss that moment. So any questions before we get started? No? Okay. So we'll just ask that you keep yourselves muted as we go, just so you can hear me okay. Hopefully I'm not too glitchy. I am working in our headquarters right now, and lots of people are on the computer, so hopefully it'll work out okay. I'm somewhat tech savvy, so if I mess this up, bear with me. I'm just going to get my presentation up here. Okay. Oh, we're on the money, Alan. Here we go. Okay. We had some hiccups earlier when we were trying to figure this out. So I'm going to talk to you today about crime prevention in general. There's going to be a little bit of information on frauds and scams, personal safety, that kind of thing. If there's other information that you want to know about, we can definitely have a chat about it. But you'll find the information here pretty useful, and I'm sure some of you will be shocked by some of it. I usually get those kind of looks from people when we do these presentations. When I say something, they're like, oh my goodness, I had no idea. Okay. So just to kind of give you a background a little bit about our unit, there's 2 senior safety officers that work in York Regional Police within this unit, myself and my partner, Danielle Froud. And we also have a social worker that works with us. I don't know how many of you were aware of that, but this gives us the ability to put out referrals to other agencies. The social worker can come with us to home visits, especially when they're seniors or maybe a vulnerable person that can't get out in the community, or they might be a little stubborn. Sometimes when we get older, we get a little stubborn, set in our ways. We don't want people in our homes. So this way we can come out, do a meet and greet, show them that we're not terrible people and we're not trying to take them away from their home, but we're actually trying to help them and get them supports into the home. We also have YRP elder abuse investigators that work all throughout the region. So I'm also one of them. I don't actually take carriage of any active investigations per se, like as the lead, but I will help with some of them. We will help with interviews. We will help with the families and just try to navigate what's best for the person who might be involved in a crime. Sometimes we have to take into consideration things like sundowners. Have any of you heard of sundowners before? I see some nodding. Yeah, for those who aren't sure, what it is basically somebody who might have dementia or might be a little older in age. They are more alert and their memory is better in the morning. As the sun is setting in the day, getting later on in the day, their memory kind of fades a little bit, or they're not as focused. So we keep this into consideration when we do interviews, because we want to make sure we get their best selves and the best version of what they remember. We also have 2 programs there on point number 4. Oh, sorry, skip point number 3. Victim Services of York Region. This is an agency that works with us. Anytime we go to a call that might be a little traumatic in nature, and it can be anything from a break and enter, maybe somebody's upset, or possibly somebody passing away at home and it wasn't an expected death, we can have Victim Services come out and provide some on-site counseling and support, a little bit of grief service, and they can help connect with organizations right then and there in the community and just give them a little extra support. Sometimes the police officers in those circumstances get really busy dealing with the actual event and what's happening. And then this way we can have victim services that will take care of the person and provide them that compassion that they need right then and there. Not that police officers aren't compassionate, but sometimes we have a job to do and we've got to get those things done. Number 4, we have 2 programs there, VPR and PLS. Has anybody heard of our Vulnerable Person Registry or Project Lifesaver? Some nodding, yeah. So Vulnerable Person Registry is a program that is free. Basically, we use it for people who might have wandering tendencies, exiting behavior from their home. And this could be anything from anyone from a senior to someone middle-aged with a cognitive delay, or even children with autism. So they might have trouble if they get out of the home, or maybe not tell people where they're going, they get lost, they might be nonverbal. This is a great program for us because we would take a picture of the individual. We also have all of their information in kind of like a mini report. And we also give them a card that they can put in their pocket, excuse me, that would have their name on it, their address, information about them. It almost looks like a long bookmark, but then it folds up into like a credit card size, and you just kind of stick in your pocket or your wallet. And it could have things on there as well as something that might upset this person, things not to say and not to do. So it could be somebody with autism who maybe has touch sensitivity. Then you would know, okay, I'm not going to put my arm on this person because that's going to trigger them. I don't want them to get upset. So it's really good for us, or it could be even for somebody who's got diabetes and maybe they have an episode and they can't properly verbalize or communicate, then we can find out where they are and get them home to their loved ones sooner. Project Lifesaver, this program does have a small fee, a one-time fee, but right now we have government funding that covers that. So we're really trying to promote this program and get as many people on it that need to be. And what it is it's you basically wear kind of like a watch type device. So something similar to this, maybe a little bit bigger, and it would have a band on it that almost looks like a hospital bracelet. On the top, there'll be like a little dome, and inside is a little FM transmitter. And what happens is if they go missing, that person is assigned a specific FM frequency, like a radio. And we have search and rescue officers that are trained in how to use the receiver, and they will turn it on, put in that frequency. And as they get closer to wherever that device is, it beeps faster and faster. So it's kind of like that hot cold game, right? When you get closer, it beeps faster, further away, beeps slower. So it's a great way for us to be able to find that person. The only caveat with this program is that they have to live with a caregiver. So we need to know kind of when they've gone missing, last time they were seen, or last area of location. If they live alone, you're typically not eligible for the program because we're not going to know when you left. The reason we use FM frequency versus GPS, because I'm sure some of you are thinking, well, why wouldn't you use like an AirTag or other GPS devices? FM frequency will work in bad weather. It will work in the bush area. It's more detectable than GPS, where it can go down sometimes. So you can imagine if you're out and about somewhere, maybe you're driving up north and your cell phone's not working properly, that would be exactly the reason why we would want to use this. any questions on those two programs before I move on? Now I can't see all of you, so I'm gonna rely on my friends if you put a hand up to let me know if you have a question, or you can put something in the chat there as well. Okay,
Hey.
or you can unmute yourself and just speak up.
Yeah, at this point, I don't see anybody, so.
Okay. Now listen, if you folks don't start talking, I might have to pick on one of you. We need this to be interactive. All right, I won't pick on you that much. Oh, I did forget to tell you though that there's homework today. So your homework is to make sure you tell at least 2 other people about what you've learned here today in the presentation. So don't worry, you don't need to write notes or anything, just, casual conversations. You're talking to family and friends, share this stuff because we want to make sure the word gets out there. Okay, so as you can see there, points 5 through 9, we'll do phone consultations if somebody has questions, and we do online presentations like we are now, in-person presentations, which is really nice after COVID to get back and see people in the community again. Home visits, we talked about that briefly, where we can go out to the home and help out, and community events. So March was our, I think it was fraud prevention awareness month. So we did a couple of events, and actually my partner Danielle and I were recorded by Rogers Video doing a presentation similar to this. So if you have Rogers Video or Rogers TV, you can go online, and their Instagram page, I think, has it listed when the next, when it'll be aired next. I think it's on April 24th might be the next one. So anyway, check it out if you do. Otherwise, eventually it will be put on YouTube so you can watch it there. And hopefully we'll have that link soon. All right. So, just bear with me one sec here. Oh goodness.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Too
a
far.
quick question. If
Oh
I may,
gosh.
Officer
Yeah.
Brown.
Yeah.
So all these programs, that's just for York Regional Police. Do the other police forces in Ontario or across Canada have these same programs?
A lot of them do. Project Lifesaver is actually an American program, but it works up here. So we have people that are trained in our office on how to get someone set up with it and how to use the devices, but it did start in USA. So, but yes, lots of other services use it. I heard recently that it's really popular up in the Elliott Lake area, a lot more senior community up there. So, and then this works really well to help find them if they need. All right. So as you can see there, we have an aging population. In 2001, seniors 65 years and older made up 13% of the population. And you look further at the bottom, they estimate in 2041, seniors are projected to make up 23% of the population. So there's one stat that's not in the middle there. The last one I heard about was in 2021, we were already at 19%. So it just gives you an idea that there's actually more seniors over 65 than there are children 0 to 14 in the region right now. And that's obviously only going to get higher with all the baby boomers coming up now. And I don't know how many of you fall into that category, but yeah, there's definitely a few. And that's why it's more important that we get this messaging out there. All right, so some tips on some personal safety we're going to talk about. And this is a lot of common sense stuff, but it's a good reminder. When you're out and about, be aware of your surroundings, travel in pairs when possible, especially if you're out on trails or whatever. Not only do we need to worry about maybe other people picking on you or being vulnerable, but animals are out there. And a lot of people are feeding coyotes now, and they're becoming less afraid of humans. And there's been some more attacks lately. So again, just something to be thinking about. Travel in well-lit areas, don't be going down back alleys, dark pathways, whatnot. And carry a cell phone with you or a noisemaker. Make sure it's charged. You just never know when something's going to happen and you might have to call 911 for help. A noisemaker can be something as simple as a whistle. Now, we suggest noisemakers because let's say you fall down, you hurt yourself, maybe you knock the wind out of yourself and your breathing's labored. If you use a whistle, it's not that hard to blow into and the noise will travel much further than you screaming. So just something to think about. You can throw it on your keychain or keep it in your pocket. Tell friends and family where you're going, where you plan to go, what time you should be home. we typically in the hiking and nautical type lifestyles, people will use this because, you know, you may go out in a kayak by yourself, and then, you know, if you don't come back after an hour, they're probably like, okay, where are they? And I mean, you could be anywhere depending on where you go. So just give them an idea of where you're going, when you plan to be home. Have you folks heard of the What 3 Words app? No? See some shaking heads. What 3 words? So this is a free app, and what it is if you get lost, you can open up the app and it will give you your GPS location identified by 3 singular words. Now, those 3 singular words that the app gives you pinpoints to where you are within a 1 square meter location. So if you go missing, say you're in the forest and you don't know where you are, you can open this app, then you can call 911 and you can say, okay, police, I'm lost. These are the 3 words. And it could be like pineapple, table, and hair tie or something, right? Some 3 random words. They're not going to make any sense, but they can put those 3 words into the app. We have the algorithm in the app here, and then we can figure out exactly where you are. Our Marine unit uses it all the time, especially for people who, you know, we get a lot of city people up in Georgina that come up and they use the waterway at Lake Simcoe or even Lake Wilcox, for those of you that live in Richmond Hill area. And you might get lost, right? Or you might not be able to find your way in. So just something to consider. Avoid headsets that could compromise your hearing. And if you have devices to help with like devising aids, like glasses, hearing aids, walkers, whatever, use them. I know as we get older, we get stubborn. We may think our hearing's still okay, but it might not be. If it's recommended you get hearing aids, please do so. If it's recommended you wear glasses, please do so. And don't be like some people when they're out and about walking like this and they're not paying attention, right? We see it all too often, pedestrians crossing the road. I'm not going to pick on any demographic, but I'm sure we can guess which ones do it more than others. And or when you're down in the city, right? Everybody's so kind of involved in themselves, and life's so busy, and they, you know, forget to look around. It's important to be aware of what you're doing because pedestrians have just as much responsibility as motorists on the roadway. And the last point there, call police if you see anything or anyone suspicious. We've had instances where people have called something in because they've seen a suspicious vehicle, people are coming and going. And recently that specific scenario led to an arrest of 3 people with guns in the car, and they were about to do an armed robbery. So you just never know what's going to happen.
I was going to say, Mary has a question. Raise her hand.
Yeah, go ahead, Mary.
Thank you. Yeah, this is great information. But if for myself, I use a cane.
Mm-hmm.
If someone was to come behind me and try to grab me, if I hit them with my cane with their leg, would I be charged?
Yeah, there's a we get a
or
lot
would
of
it-
questions like that.
You know, because we're thinking, oh gosh, if we hit them like, you know, right at the hip or the leg and they fall, and then we run and we call the police, and then, oh, that person hit me with the cane. You know, what happens there?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, if there's no video to show what had happened, obviously it's going to be your word against theirs. But at the end of the day, if you're just walking along minding your own business, you can tell them that, like, why would I go and attack them? I'm just walking. Like, they tried to take my purse or whatever, and I was defending myself. And there's a difference between defending yourself to stop the person attacking you or whatnot versus if they're down on the ground and then you keep pounding on them with your cane and beating them up.
Oh,
Now
yeah.
we're getting into like assault type level
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. It's just giving us a head start. Like, you know, if they
Yeah.
fall, then we could try to catch someone and say, hey, someone's, you know, hit me or something,
Yeah.
or someone try to grab me. And then
Yeah.
you get more protected. Go to the closest store or something.
Yep. Yep. And you know what? Sadly, we do have to think about these things because there's people that will try and take advantage of you, right? So I wouldn't think twice about it. If you're being attacked or someone's going after you, you do what you got to do to defend yourself. If at the end of the day somebody thinks you need to be charged for something, we'll deal with that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, somebody attacks me, they better run fast because I'm gonna be giving them a run for their money. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Okay, distraction thefts. I'm gonna pick on some of the ladies. Who leaves their purse in a shopping cart while you're shopping? Probably nobody, right? Hopefully nobody. So I say this because, you know, we all grew up in the day and age where you could be so trusting of people. You could stop and have a conversation and it wasn't a big deal. But now somebody might stop you and, you know, you might be in the yogurt section. And they're like, oh, I want to buy some Greek yogurt. Can you help me? And then they kind of, you know, wheel you into the fridge area and then somebody's stealing your purse or taking whatever out of the cart if you've left it behind. Newsflash, I'm not sure if you are aware, fanny packs are now in. They're back in style. So a lot of the ladies are wearing them like a crossbody purse, right? So you put your fanny pack in the front and then it's harder for anybody to take it off you. Or some of those shoulder bags, you'll see people wear it's just a over the shoulder sling bag, but they wear the actual bag part on the front and have the strap at the back. So then nobody can really undo the zipper or whatever. Who here locks their car when they fill up with gas? Yeah, I see some nodding. So I would recommend you do that. Or if you're with somebody who's getting gas, tell them to lock the car because you're not going to take your whole purse and everything with you typically. And they tell you not to take your cell phone because you could cause a fire or whatever when you're filling up with gas. But lock the car, keep the keys in your pocket, and then pay attention to what's going on around you. Somebody could come up and try and distract you. And, you know, while they're doing that, asking for directions, their little friend or buddy could be coming around the corner and taking something from the front seat of your car. So just things to be aware of when you go shopping. I don't know how many of you like going on those mall bender shopping days and you've got lots of purchases and then you run out of spaces to carry your stuff. So you take it to the car and then you go for round two, just as an example. Put it in the trunk, cover it up, make sure that nobody can see it. A friend of mine sadly had her vehicle window broken in because she left her lunch bag in the front seat of her car and it looked like a purse. So, you know, then she had to deal with that. Yeah, distraction thieves work in teams and they will try and approach their victims in busy locations. And, you know, you've got those people that are really good with the switch of hand stuff, right? Pickpocketers, people that will try and take items from your bag without you knowing. Here's a short video here. So this is going to show, this one's not violent at all. This one's going to show a lady that is approaching somebody in a driveway and trying to sell jewelry. And as they put a piece of jewelry on that person's neck, they're taking off their own necklace and then stealing it. There's no sound on this video, just so you know. You can see how fast it can happen and how they'll typically use women, because women seem to be less intimidating when it comes to various crimes. So as she was kind of reaching around the back, she might have been like pretending to adjust the necklace, but she's actually taking off the other one while she's doing it. So yeah, happens fast. Everybody could see that okay, right?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Some tips with vehicle safety. Make sure your vehicle's in good working condition. You never want to get stuck on the side of the road if you fail to listen to that noise that's making a rattle or something's happening, or you know, you get a warning that your tire might be a little low on air and you're like, it'll be fine till I get home, and then you have a flat tire. Don't start your car and leave it running with the keys in the ignition. Again, I think this is pretty common sense type stuff, but some people sadly still do it, right? They think they live in a safe neighborhood and these thieves just drive around waiting for it. Make sure your gas tank is at least half full. Don't take a chance of running out of gas. Always lock your vehicle, hide items so they're not in plain view, and park in a highly visible, well-lit location. So if you are going to, say, the mall and it's at nighttime, park under a street lamp. So it's the cameras in the area will be able to pick up your vehicle a lot easier. Have your keys and your remote ready as you approach your car, get it ready. Don't be distracted by fumbling through your bag or your purse trying to find your keys while you're at your car, because it gives an opportunity for people to kind of sneak up on you. And do a quick check of your back seat and your interior of the vehicle, just in case somebody did happen to gain access or you forgot to lock it, you thought you did. You don't want to take home a little hitchhiker in the back at all. And be aware of your surroundings, right? Be aware of who's walking around you. If somebody's following you, if you feel uneasy, maybe ask an employee to come out with you just to make sure you get to your car safely, those kind of things. This kind of goes hand in hand with robbery prevention. Again, I can't say it enough. Be aware of your surroundings. A lot of times when somebody's about to take something from you, if you make eye contact with them and they know that you've seen them, they're probably less likely to do something because they're like, oh crap, they've had a really good look at my face. They're going to be able to identify me. So don't be afraid to look at people or greet them, throw them off and just be like, how are you? I see you standing there, or whatever you want to say to them, right? And they might just scurry off. Obviously, if they're pretty aggressive, you don't want to engage them. You want to kind of get away, but you can let them know, like, I see you. Criminals are opportunists. They'll, walk confidently, hold your head up high, know where you're going. If you look, kind of act the part like you're scared, or your body language shows that you're scared, they might take advantage of that. Don't have too many packages while you're walking out. So again, it's an opportunity for them to take advantage of you. Use extra caution at bank machines. There's a lot of scammers out there now that are trying to get your bank card information. This also goes hand in hand with if you go to a teller and you go to get money out. And sometimes the tellers, they have to count the money out loud for you. So right? So they're going 20, 40, 60, 81, 20, 40, right? Maybe ask them to do it quietly. So, everybody in the bank doesn't know you just took $500 out and you've got all this cash in your pocket. Because again, if they know that and they think I could probably overpower this person, they may try and take advantage of you. Don't open the door to anyone unless you don't know them, especially when it comes to secure locations like an apartment building or condo. If somebody tries to sneak in, don't, question them. Actually, it happens here all the time at work. We all have to wear lanyards, like ID badges, and you open the door for somebody and you're like, oh, do they work here or not? So we have to ask as well, just to make sure, because we do have, we'll say, customers coming in to pick up their police record checks and whatnot. So
Mary has a question.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
This is more of a suggestion. Back at the bank, now I go to the side of the lower teller because I remember you, as you say, they count the money so loud, like, excuse me, and plus because I'm for a fee, people overhead could see how much money I'm taking out of the bank. So what I now do when I go to any bank, and if I see, where the desk for seniors, well, hey, I'm going to take advantage of it and go there because then I feel it's out of the way of everyone else. So that's a
Absolutely.
suggestion for everyone.
That's great. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, the last point there, if they try to take something from you, let them have it. Especially when it's your purse. A lot of us think, oh my gosh, my whole life's in my purse. I'm going to lose all my ID and it's going to take forever to get it all back. And you start panicking. But at the end of the day, if you fall down and hurt yourself, then you're also now going to have an injury on top of losing your purse because they're probably going to take it anyway. So it's not worth fighting over it with them. And I know that's going to be hard because I know I would probably want to fight back too, but now this video does have a little bit of violence in here. There is no sound, but just in case you don't want to watch it, I would just maybe move your screen down. That lady was still holding on to her purse and got dragged down the ramp there. So, I don't actually know the extent of her injuries. I know she had a few broken bones, but at the end of the day, she did survive, and that's great. But yeah, it's just not worth it, and the recovery, and we're not getting any younger, right? So this is it's gonna take a lot longer to heal than somebody who's, 10, 15 years old. Okay. This is just some handy tips when it comes to motor vehicle collisions. Some people just have maybe really never been in a collision or had never had anything happen, so they're not sure what to do. If you are involved in a collision where anyone has injuries, you have to report it to the police. If there are no injuries, but the combined damage is less than $2,000, which, I mean, that can only be a couple taillights nowadays, everything's so expensive. You don't have to report. You can exchange information, but at the same time, if you don't feel comfortable, maybe the person's not giving all of their information, they have to provide their driver's license, ownership, and insurance to you, and a phone number. And if they refuse to give you those, call 911, have somebody come out, and we can help you. There'll be times where you may call in and they may direct you to a collision reporting center, and that does happen often now. That's okay. Even if there's significant damage but maybe no injuries, go to the collision reporting center, but still maybe take a picture of the other person's plate. Try and get some of their information ahead of time, just in case they don't show up at the collision reporting center, then at least you have something for the officers to start working with. If you're ever involved in a hit and run, that has to be reported to police as well. So just some tips. Again, hopefully none of you have to ever have this happen and deal with it, but it can be quite upsetting. People get quite emotional. Sometimes you may have someone yell and scream at you, and that's just their response to the situation. It may not have anything to do with what kind of person they actually are. Just be mindful of that. You may get a young person that doesn't really know what to do, or they panic. So if any of those circumstances happen and you feel uncomfortable, sit in your car and just call for police. Any questions on that? No?
Just a quick question. In the case of an accident, don't we have to pull the cars off to the side of the road, or no, just leave it where it is?
You can, if they're not that badly damaged. It just depends where you are and is it safe to do so. If you're on a busy highway, like say the 404 or whatever, and you get into a collision, if the traffic's really heavy, you shouldn't get out of the car because it's safer being in the car. Again, it's case by case situation. But if you can move it off safely to the side of the road and the damage isn't that bad, it is recommended to do that. Thank you. Okay, so we have a short video here on the Canada.
Carol's got one more question.
Sorry.
Oh,
a
yeah.
Quick one, sort of an aside there.
Yeah,
So
go
if your
ahead.
car sort of breaks down and you've moved off to the side of the road, do you stay in the vehicle or no? Or do you get out and go into the ditch or something?
So like if you're on a busy highway like the 404 and you're not comfortable getting out of the car, I would say no. But if you're in a subdivision where it's only a 40 zone and you've got lots of space and traffic's not that heavy, you're going to be okay to get out. You just gotta have to play it by ear what your comfort level is. The other people are probably going to get out anyway, and you can maybe just tell them to come around to your passenger side and talk to you through the window there, just so they're not on the roadside. Again, these are just more so considerations to think about, because if you're standing on the side of the road, maybe the car is still partially in a lane. Other drivers, if they're driving too fast, especially on the 404, if they're not paying attention, they may drive into the back of your vehicle. And if you're standing in front of it, it's going to push it into you. If you want to go way down into the ditch, that's not a bad idea. I like the sound of that too. But again, it just depends where you are.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so we're going to watch a video on my friend Mike.
This is Mike. Like most Canadians, Mike is a responsible citizen.
Before we go any further, can everybody hear it okay? Yeah, awesome. Oh, goodness. I did it again. I think we didn't get too far into it.
This is Mike. Like most Canadians, Mike is a responsible citizen. He works hard, takes care of his family, and he pays his taxes on time. so Mike is surprised when he gets a call. The person on the phone says he's from the Canada Revenue Agency and that Mike hasn't paid his taxes. He tells Mike the police are coming to arrest him if he doesn't pay immediately and demands Mike's banking and credit card information. Mike thinks, am I in trouble? The answer is no. This call is a scam. Unfortunately, some people are fooled by these threats. They are frightened into giving scammers their personal and financial information. But not Mike. Mike listens and then thinks to himself, this doesn't feel right and it doesn't make sense. I better check my online CRA account or call the official CRA number to make sure my tax account is in order. Mike hangs up and checks his account, which confirms he was right. There is no problem with his tax account. Remember, the CRA will never use nasty language or threaten you. The CRA will also never ask for your credit card information or for payments by prepaid credit cards, or ask for your personal information by email or text message. For more information, go to canada.ca/taxes-fraud-prevention.
All right. Any questions on that? Or I'm sure some of you have had those calls where the automated messages, you're going to be arrested if you don't pay your taxes. Well, I mean, the CRA is on strike right now too, so you're not going to get arrested right now anyway, but jokes aside.
Yeah, like I just had one quick comment of how I generally deal with any of these where you see the call display, any number you're not familiar with. It's like, hello, and not yes or anything. And like my one sister, we hello all the time. And I'd say hello if they don't answer immediately, or hello, or answer back after a second quick hello, hanging up. And meanwhile, if it comes on and you don't know right away who it is, it's a hang up anyway. You weren't expecting that call. And
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we get so many scam calls now. I hardly even answer the phone anymore if it's a number I don't recognize. And if it is somebody trying to get a hold of me, most times they're going to leave a message and I'll call them back.
Precisely.
Yeah. And I also recommend that in another regard, because if you answer scam calls, a lot of them are like computer generated machines that the calls just randomly go out. And then once somebody picks up, then it gets like passed over to one of the criminal call takers, if you will. Oh, that's okay. Someone just popped in the door there a second. Yeah, so you might have those call takers. So what happens is if you do answer those numbers, the computer recognizes, aha, I got a real person. I'm going to make more scam calls to them. And then you'll get more and more. That's the same with emails. It's okay to open emails, but don't reply to them, because then if you do, they recognize, okay, and then you'll get flooded with a whole bunch more of different scams. Yeah, I see your hand up there, Mary.
Yeah, the other scam call we used to get, well, we still do, is duct cleaning. And that is so famous. And it just, they say, oh, we want to do your duct, and it's a guy with a heavy accent that calls, and then we say, no thank you, no thank you. And he goes, yeah, I could do it, and then keeps you on the phone. Now I just hang up and I just, answer, and then if he goes into duct cleaning, I just hang up. Goodbye.
I like playing around with those ones, and I'll be like, well, I don't have ducks, but I have some geese. Will you clean them? We also had phone calls. I had phone calls to my work cell phone for duct cleaning. And they're like, okay, well, what's the square footage? And I'm like, well, I think about 200,000 square feet in this building. The police headquarters in Aurora. They're like, click.
Well, so the other thing, when my mom was in a long-term care, and I answered the phone one time, and it was Microsoft, and they wanted the computer. They said, oh, your computer it has a virus and we want to help you. And so then I'm like, my mother doesn't have a computer. and and so then the one time they said it again, they phoned again. So I asked my mother, I said, do you have a computer I don't know about? And she goes, oh, hang up.
That's funny. I like that. Yeah, Janet?
You're mentioning emails. I get quite a few emails that are scam emails, and like from Costco, which I don't have a card with, even Metro. I've got some, I get some on my email that's like females looking for man and everything. And then some of them, they have the unsubscribe that you can click on. Is that okay to click on it, or would that open up a mess?
I wouldn't. If it's, so let's say you're getting a whole bunch of emails from Bath and Body Works or whatever, because you shop there at one time. You can unsubscribe to those because you know you gave them your email at one time. But if it's a company you've never subscribed with in the first place, just delete it. You can block it, report it to whomever if you need to, or just ignore them. I know it's annoying because then you're going to get flooded with a lot of them, but if there's a way that if it's on your phone that you can block those, then try and do that. Or if it's through the computer, see if you can change your settings. Just in case. I wouldn't click on any of them.
That's what I was,
sorry, Alan.
yeah, that's what I was afraid of.
Yeah.
It's Alan. The other thing I'd suggest is if you can figure out how to have your emails not display images right away. So often there is embedded in the image an indicator that it's been opened. So I make sure that I have all, don't display the images. So that
Yeah, like on your phones, it'll say load images or whatever. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point.
I have another question with respect to phone calls that say no number or no ID, like Councilman Brown, when you phoned me the other day, it doesn't come up with a number. There's an issue sometimes when you're getting calls from the government or certain services that don't display the numbers.
Yes.
That makes it difficult sometimes for us to get those important phone calls. Is there a way around that, or some way we can be more sure?
Well, I mean, for us, we can actually put in a code before we make a phone call, and then it will say York Regional Police. We just don't most of the time. I'm not really sure why it's not listed, but I don't know if it's a way that to avoid other scammers trying to do spoof calls with our phone numbers. I don't know if you folks are familiar with spoof calling, but there is an app online or a website that you can go on to, and you can say, okay, this is the number I'm going to be calling from. This is the number I want to call. And then this is the number I want on the display. And you can pay for this feature. So that's why sometimes you might get a call from a 905 number, but clearly it's maybe a call from India from air duct cleaning, because you can hear the accents and the background noise and whatnot. But they call spoof it, so it looks like it comes from a 905 number to get people to answer. So again, if you're not sure of the number, unless you're waiting for that important doctor's phone call or whatnot too, I know that's tough. You have to kind of gamble a little bit on what you're going to answer. And if it's somebody you don't know or a scam, then just hang up. Yeah. I do have another video in a few minutes that talks about phishing. So how people fish for information and everything. So I'll leave some of the rest of the questions until after that, if that's okay. All right. Emergency scams. This is a big one that's happening right now. They're also known as like grandparent scams. So these could be phone calls from people, and you may get a call and it sounds like a young person that's all upset, and they'll be like, "Grandma, is that you? Oh, Grandma." And then, you're like, "Oh my gosh, little Johnny, is that you?" But you're not quite sure if it's your grandson or not, or granddaughter. But now you've given the bad person your name of your grandson. And then they may say, well, yeah, it's me, but I was just in a car accident and my nose is broken, so I sound funny. Or I just had COVID, so my voice has changed right now. So they're like, okay, could be. Then they start telling a story about how they were in a car. Maybe there was somebody that was impaired driving. They might have hit a pregnant woman and they need bail money. So, they're calling from jail, they need bail money, and or else they're not going to get out. They may even go as far as saying, well, I've got the court bailiff here, or I've got the police officer here. Can you talk to them? And they'll pass the phone over, and then somebody else gets on the phone and they sound like an official person, either from the courts or an officer. And they'll be like, yes, this is Officer Smith. We have your grandson who's under arrest. This just happened. And, there's $5,000 for the bail. Now, there is a court order, a gag order. You're not allowed to tell anybody about it. And if you do, then little Johnny's not getting out of court or getting out of jail. And of course, they make it sound like it's urgent, it's an emergency, and it's your loved one. So you start thinking with your emotions versus thinking like logistically, like, okay, is this what's happening here? And they will give you like brief timelines, like, nope, you got to pay by the end of the day and blah, blah, blah. So they will even go as far as like when they're talking to maybe the senior or the vulnerable person and say, okay, well, the senior may say, I don't have that money right on me. I have to go to the bank. And they're like, that's okay. Go to the bank. But when you go, tell them you need the money for a bathroom renovation, because there's a court order, a gag order. You can't tell the teller what it's about, or else little Johnny's not getting out. Right. And then they start spoon feeding them on what they should do. So they go to the bank, they might take out the money. And, we've had people say, well, couldn't the tellers pick up on this? Like, aren't they able to figure out what's happening? And the problem is the tellers may suspect that something like this is happening. But at the end of the day, if the senior or the person is adamant saying, nope, I want this money, I'm doing a bathroom renovation, that's that. And they have to give them the money because it's their money. So, then the person comes home, they'll call the number that was left behind by the police officer, and they'll call them, and they'll be like, okay, good, you've got the bail money. All right, now we'll have the courier from the courthouse or whoever, the bailiff, come and get the money. They're going to show up at your door and they're going to use the word pineapple, and that's going to be the code word. And they're like, okay. So they put the money in an envelope. Maybe a half hour later, somebody shows up at the door, and typically they're wearing a mask because of COVID, right? And that's another way to hide their identity. They will then come up and say, okay, code word is pineapple. Do you have the bail money? And they'll give them the money and off they go. Typically these couriers will park around the corner because they don't want their vehicles caught on camera or anybody seeing them. Sometimes they'll even tell the person, like if they live on maybe a third or fourth floor of apartment building, okay, well, which side of the building is your balcony? Meet me out there and throw me the money. Yeah. So we've seen a whole bunch of different things. So again, this is where, you folks can come into play. If you see something like this, like you see somebody walking up to your neighbor's home or somebody's home, and you're like, that I don't know who that is, and they show up for a quick second, take an envelope and walk away, or they're somebody's throwing money out the window in an envelope, please call 911, because this is probably what's happening. And at the end of the day, if it's not and we check them out and everything's fine, then that's fine. But if we can catch them, then we can slow them down. So sadly, the scam could go on beyond that. They could receive another phone call in a day or two, and it could be that officer again calling the senior and saying, well, after the investigation, now we found a gun in the car, we found some drugs, or the person that they hit has now died and the bail money's gone up. And so like, now you have to give us another $8,000 or whatever it is. The senior may say, well, I don't have 8,000, but I have 4,000. They'll be like, okay, that's fine. We'll take 4,000. Right. And off to the bank they go again, then they come back. And some people, sadly, if they're wealthy, some of them have fallen to the scam and lost over $100,000 because they keep coming back. Yeah. So we always say there's never an emergency in any of these scams, and always verify the information. If something like this happens to you, we will never put a gag order on you having to pay bail and not tell anybody about it. That just doesn't happen. And police officers and court people aren't going to come to your door and collect money. That's not how it works. If money has to be put up for bail, it's done at the courthouse with the judge in that setting. It's never, nobody comes and picks it up. And if somebody tells you something like this, or they kind of, disclose, oh, my grandson got in trouble or whatever, it doesn't even have to be necessarily grandparents. A friend of mine who's my age had a call, and he thought it was his son that was in trouble. These criminals will go through all kinds of lengths to do research. If your phone number is online at all, they'll get your name. They'll start searching on Facebook or other social media to see what they can find out about you. Excuse me. So yeah, take the time, call your loved ones, your family members, verify the information. Don't go by just on what they say. Any questions on that?
Have you caught many scams like that in the act where, you know, you're ready to get them as they
Yeah,
try to get the money?
yeah, we'll catch some of the couriers. Sometimes when they interview, they'll get the people that are in the next level up. Because at the end of the day, excuse me, I had a tickle in my throat. At the end of the day, it is organized crime. There's different levels. They will go as far as renting an Airbnb house, and they'll sit in there for a few days and set up a call center, and they'll just be calling people left, right, and center, and couriers will be going back and forth. And then they'll move to another location and hit another part of town. So, or another town. So, and from what I've learned as well, if the couriers go to collect the money and they don't come back with it, they still owe their superiors that money. So yeah, so it's pretty lucrative. They can get quite aggressive. So you just have to be very careful. Any other questions on that before we go to the next video? No. Also be mindful, there's romance scams out there, right? Especially over COVID, people are getting a little lonely. Maybe they want that companion, whether it's a friend or a loved one. They may get some kind of solicited email or text message. Somebody may say, oh, yeah, I'll reach out to you and bring you the money after work. And you're like, well, that's a weird text. And then you might text them back and say, I think you have the wrong number. And then, you know, and then it might spark a conversation. Oh, I'm really sorry. Okay, no problem. But you sound like a really nice person. Is it okay if we chat? And that's as simple as it can be sometimes. And somebody will just start chatting with them. So we'll have a little watch of the video here.
Phishing is when a cyber criminal poses as a legitimate organization to try and lure you into providing sensitive data. Sometimes they send you an email or call you asking for your banking or credit card numbers, even your usernames and passwords. This information is then used to access important accounts and can result in identity theft and financial loss. When this is done over SMS text messages, it's referred to as smishing. Here are some of the tactics that might be used by somebody trying to phish or smish you. They might try to scare you by saying your information has already been compromised or threaten to close your account, fine you, or even take legal action if you don't respond. On the other end of the spectrum, some messages will make it seem like you're being rewarded, receiving inheritance from a long-lost relative, winning a contest you've never entered, or getting a refund for something you didn't purchase. Whether they're playing good cop or bad cop, there will often be a sense of urgency to phishing requests. To encourage action without thinking, phishers will often give tight deadlines. No matter the tactic, here are some ways to tell if the messages you receive are actually phishing attempts. Phishing messages can be impersonal, addressing you as sir or madam instead of using your name. They're more likely to have spelling and grammar mistakes or unprofessional graphics than legitimate organizations. They'll also come from a domain unrelated to the company they're pretending to be from. So double-check the address when you receive an email by hovering over it with your mouse. Unfortunately, there are fewer clues when it comes to smishing. The best way to determine if a text is fraudulent is just to ask yourself, would this organization be texting me and asking me to take action? In most cases, the answer is no. In fact, stopping and asking yourself that question is a great way to protect yourself from all forms of phishing. If you're still not sure, get in touch with the organization by using the contact information on their official website. If there's really a problem, they'll let you know. Legitimate organizations don't usually ask you to verify or provide confidential information in an unsolicited email or text. Phishing scams are on the rise, but follow these tips and you'll be sure not to take the bait.
All right. So yeah, if you got a text from Drake, you guys would think it's real, right? Everybody know who Drake is? Yeah, so you just never know. They will go out of the way to fish this information and try and find out stuff about you. Do you guys have Facebook or social media accounts? Yeah, I see some nodding. Have you ever seen those like quizzes that people like to send around, right? It's like, oh, this is a lot of fun, right? And it'll be like, okay, what was the name of your first pet? What was the name of your oldest cousin? What town did you grow up in? What was the first car that you had? How old was your dad when you were born? So these should sound familiar because these are all security type questions that banks will often use. So yeah, you may think you're like on a dynamite roll and like, oh, look at all these answers. Oh yeah, I used to have a sunbird and whatever. Now you're just telling them what you know, stuff about you or possible passwords that you might have used. So just try and avoid those if you can. Anything you put on the internet never goes away. It will always be there. There's always some way to retrieve it or find it. So if you're like me, I'm not terribly private. I put stuff on my social media, but it's not anything I wouldn't tell anybody else. Stuff that I don't want people to know, I'm mindful of that. Oh, Mary, yeah.
Yeah, the other thing on social media is sometimes when I put like a poem or something out, but I accidentally put as public, right? Because I figure it's no big deal. But now I'm being conscious because then you get a comment saying, oh, I love the way you put all these wonderful, inspirational poems, and I'd love to be your Facebook friend, but I didn't want to connect with you because if you could connect with me. And I'm like, okay. So then what I do is first I block that person because I do not know who he is, and then I change it to friends only. So
That's
you
a
have
good
to be
idea.
careful with that because when you put public, it's almost like anybody could get into it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and some people they'll also create duplicate accounts of your friends. So then, you know, your friend may then send you a friend request and you're like, well, I'm already friends with that person. What is going on? And you realize, oh, they haven't been hacked necessarily, but somebody's stolen one of their pictures and then tried to create their own account to get some information from their friends. So yeah, verify the information. These are just good reminder tips here. Don't offer any information on the phone. I like how you said that before, Charmaine, where you don't say yes when you answer the phone, just maybe like hello or why are you calling? There's no need to be polite, right? Until you figure out who it is. We get it all the time. I'll call, especially from an unknown number. And I think I actually did this with you, Alan, where I'm like, oh, is this Alan? You're like, yes. Like, you're not rude, but it's kind of like suspicious. And then I'm like, oh, it's Erin, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, oh, right. And then the mood changes. So yeah, don't be afraid to be like that. Just or just say no and hang up. There's no need to get into a conversation or keep telling them you're not interested and be polite, just hang up. Second point there, delayed disconnect. So some criminals have the ability, they figured out a way to keep your line tapped in even after you hang up. And this is more so with home phone lines. So if, say you get a call from somebody doing a grandparent scam and you realize after a minute, okay, no, this isn't legitimate, and you hang up, and then you go to call somebody else to talk about it or whatever, they may still be on the line. So it might be a good idea to wait a good 10 minutes before you use that home line again, or maybe use your cell phone. Don't give cash or checks to anybody you don't know. Don't give anyone access to your computer unless you know them and trust them, right? And gift cards, there used to be, not as much now, but they would really say, especially the CRA scams, why don't you just go down, you owe $500, go down to Shoppers, get $500 in gift cards. When you come back, give me a call and they'll have you read off the barcode number under the UPC code and then the PIN information. And then they're like, it may sound official. And they're like, okay, now your account's all been done. Payment's gone through. And then they take the amounts off the gift cards. And of course it doesn't go to the CRA because that's not who it is. And it's very difficult to get reimbursed for that. So just be mindful that gift cards, you got to be so careful. A lot of the scammers now, not scammers so much, but criminals will go into a store and take a stack of unactivated gift cards, and they will take the gray strip off, and then, you know, write down all the codes, put the gray strip back on or put a new strip on, return it to the store. And then when you activate it, they'll check every day, and then they'll be like, aha, that one's been activated. Boom, they transfer the money off and it's gone. So yeah, it's awful. So if you are going to use gift cards, I wouldn't say never buy them, but be mindful of the ones that are sitting on a standalone stand. Try and get them from the behind the cash if they have that option. And look at them, compare them to other cards. Is this gray strip different than this one? Or maybe buy a card that's got the cardboard all around the outside except for that barcode, so the PIN number's covered up. Or if you're not sure, just give cash instead of gift cards, right? Everybody loves cash. So call police for advice if you need. If you're not sure, you don't have a loved one or trusted person that you can call to verify, you can always call us or call the local police station. If you are a victim, especially frauds, contact your bank, make sure you get your accounts shut down or frozen, whatever, and cancel your credit cards or whatever might have been compromised, and then call us and report it. I can't stress the third point enough. Collect and keep all evidence. Make sure that if you have video surveillance, say somebody came to your home, make a copy of that video, just in case that, you know, it takes officers maybe a little while to get to you. We typically respond to calls in a priority type basis. So you may have the officer come out and take the initial report from you, but it may take a little while for an investigator to follow up with you. It could take a couple of weeks. So we don't want that video to be recorded over or any emails to be lost or deleted. Print everything off. If you have any voicemails, try and figure out a way to record it so we have that and maybe store it on a file on a USB or somewhere in your computer where you know it's safe. And notify others that might have been involved. Cryptocurrency, those scams were happening a little while, well, I guess they're still kind of happening. And some people might learn that, oh, I can, you know, make some good money off of cryptocurrency, and they get set up with these accounts, and then they realize that their big money that's accumulating, that what they thought they made, all of a sudden then gets depleted and they've been scammed. And they may have told their friends about it. So it's good to warn other people so they can try and avoid that. And then contact the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. It's a very great agency. They keep track of all the scams across Canada and the world even. And there's, if you go on their website, I think you can find, there's like a Frauds for Seniors booklet, and they can talk about all the top scams. And even if you're a victim per se, like you received a call, but you didn't actually maybe lose any money, please report if you can. You can report it online or on the phone, because they keep track of all of the scams that are happening and how frequently. Now, mind you, only 5 to 10% of Canadians will actually report to the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre. So the numbers and stats on there really should be 10 times higher of how often it's actually happening. So when to call the police? Obviously, anytime there's a life and death emergency, 911, right? Even if you're not sure if something is happening and you're not sure whether you should call non-emergency or not, you're not ever going to get in trouble for calling 911 if it's not as high a priority. We would rather you call the police than take the time to find the number and then something is happening and you need us sooner. Anytime there's a crime in progress, 911. We should be involved when the situation becomes volatile, escalates into violence, or any threats to anyone, or the victim feels that for their safety or the safety of the general public through threats made in person or by phone or email from a person or an accused party, and public safety warrants the police involvement. So that's a very technical explanation there, but basically we are here to protect people, like life, people, property, animals, that kind of thing. If it's something that is maybe lower end, like you saw someone steal your neighbor's like barbecue, that's not, it could be a 911 situation if it's happening at the time, but it's not as emergent versus somebody getting beat up. And there's a non-emergency phone number for York Regional Police. This will bring you to a operator, and then you can let them know that you want to report something. If you want to remain anonymous, Crime Stoppers is always an option. Do you folks know how Crime Stoppers works in general? Sort of. I'll do a brief explanation. So basically, let's say, Mary, let's say you see your neighbor steal something, but you don't want to really report it because you don't want to get involved or you don't want them to get upset with you. You could call Crime Stoppers. They will ask for your full information, name, address, phone number, all that stuff, and then they'll ask about the information about the tip that you want to provide. What they do from there is they put it into a report, but they don't put your identifying name information in that report. They'll keep it in their own database, but then this report will have just a report number at the top and basic information about the tip. That comes to the police. The police get that. We look at the information. Now we can't go solely on that tip and what's there. We now have to investigate to verify that that tip is true. So however that happens, whether it's talking to witnesses, getting video in the area, then if we can prove that it's true and it leads to an arrest, we go back to Crime Stoppers and say, okay, yep, this tip was good. It led to an arrest. And now Crime Stoppers is going to give money to Mary as the tipster. So that's how that works. So then, and you don't have to go to court. You can remain anonymous. Now let's say we had this question yesterday at a presentation. Let's say you're a witness to like a murder or something that's very, very high scale. There is still a chance, even if you just put a tip in through Crime Stoppers, that the police may be able to figure out that you're a witness in some way. And you may have to testify depending on where the investigation leads. So if it leads to you and they talk to you and then you agree to be a witness, that's a different situation than only providing the tip. So it could start that way. And depending on, I mean, at the end of the day, you may just say, no, I know nothing about it. And you don't tell them and you can still remain anonymous. But there is a chance that the police still could come to you at some point, depending on where that leads to. Okay, so that's kind of the end of the presentation there. Unless you folks have any questions about any of the material or any other questions you want to ask, maybe a topic I didn't talk about. And that's my name up there, Erin Brown, and my partner, Danielle Froud. We share the same extension. So if you can't, oh, you know what? And I just realized the extension is incorrect. It should be 6697, not 6997. So I will change that. So folks, 6697. Well, that's embarrassing, of course, when you see it in the presentation. But our email is correct there, seniorsafety@yrp.ca. So if you do have any questions, you can always reach out. We do kind of have bankers hours. We're typically here 7 to 5 each day, not here on weekends or evenings unless we have a special request for a presentation or an event. So if something does come through and it's emergent and you can't wait for us, or if you have, something that's pressing, call and have another officer attend or report it to 911. We recommend not waiting until we get in if it is urgent.
Terrific. Thank you so much, Constable Brown. And on the, just with regard to the number, the e-blast that I sent out for our senior safety, the Zoomer Boomer e-blast, the correct extension is on that e-blast. So
Okay.
So that's good. And Mary is congratulating you on your presentation. So you've got some kudos coming in.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, no, we love doing this kind of stuff and getting the information out there. And now you can see why we say you got to do your homework, because there is so much that we go over. And even if you only remember a few key tidbits from this, that could be helpful to whomever you talk about.
Terrific. Does anybody have any question?
Yes.
Debbie, do you have one? Yeah.
Yes, I do. Going back to your personal lifesaver, the programs there,
Yeah.
is that happening across Canada, or is that solely in Ontario? Do you know?
That's a great question, but I think it's across Canada. I think it's a national program. It just depends on the service that implements it. So like we do it here in New York. I know Toronto does it, OPP does it. So it just depends on the.
Yeah,
probably.
Saskatchewan, I was wondering. And is there a cost to that program for the person?
So yes, Project Lifesaver, there is a cost. It's $400 US. It's a one-time fee. because it is an American program, we help facilitate it, but it does get charged to the American company. Now with York Regional Police, we have that free funding from the government right now. I don't know if all services do though. It's kind of a grant that we have, but you'd have to inquire.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Very,
I mean,
very
you can.
informative.
Oh, thank you. You can always use AirTags and other devices. I know there's watches out there that you can get that have. One person was telling me recently it was a watch where you can press, the person can press a button. It's almost like a lifeline type thing, and they can program 3 different phone numbers into it. So it will go to like their son, their daughter, and then family friend, and it will keep cycling through until one of them picks up. But then it also acts as a GPS. So if they go missing, then they can track the watch. So there are other things out there that might be more cost effective. This is just obviously the program we're running, so we're trying to promote that.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. You got a question too?
Yeah, well, it's some personal information, something that I just want to pass along and make aware. I applied, I was dealing with Service Canada back in November, and I went in and spoke to a service member there. And because of COVID, he was behind plexiglass, but yeah, I had to answer questions. And there was a little number keypad on my side of the desk, but as he was asking me questions, which I could hear quite well, one of the questions was your social insurance number. So I started verbally saying it out loud, like the first couple of numbers, and he said, use the keypad.
Good.
And like he halted, like, and I was a little bit embarrassed. There was a few people in the building there at the time, and he said, never give out your social insurance number in public or to anybody that asks for it, because once they get that number, they can do fraud,
Absolutely.
they can run with that. So he said, never do. And he said, if you have your social insurance card, do you keep in your wallet? And I said, yes, I do. He said, you should have it in your night drawer beside your bed. He said, that's where I keep mine, because if you get into an accident or your wallet's stolen and it's in there, they'll jump on that. That's like gold, he said, to have that social insurance number. Identity fraud, eh? And he said, just do that down the road. And I thanked him for that. And I just wanted to point that out to all of you, because I didn't know of it. And I thought that was very good information he gave me, and I thanked him for it. So that's it.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. I actually normally say that in my presentation, so you caught me. I didn't share that this time. Yeah, if you have your SIM card or your passport with you, you should never be carrying it. The only times you need your SIM card is if you're dealing with taxes or applying for a job. And the only time you need your passport is if you're traveling, right? If you're going shopping at Loblaws and you have your passport with you, that's not a very exciting trip, and you need to like invest in a little bit more money and go to like Mexico or somewhere nicer, right? But yeah, those documents should be locked up at home. And I know another thing that just came to mind too about password safety, and a lot of people, it's hard keeping track of all your passwords, right? And we always recommend to have multiple numbers, letters, uppercase, lowercase, special characters, and write your passwords down somewhere and have it in a secure location at home. Remember where you put it at home, because then if you forget the spot, then that's not really going to be helpful. And I also recommend, if you have like power of attorney documents, wills, end of life type documents, keep a copy of your passports with them. Your passwords, not passports, your passwords with them. And if you don't have like a fire safe or a secure location or a safety deposit box, you can also keep a copy of that in your freezer. Put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in your freezer so it doesn't get wet. And I say this because then if there's a fire in your home, the documents probably will not be damaged. And when we come to a home, fire, paramedics, EMS, and police, when we come to a home, if say somebody passes away suddenly, the first place we look is on the fridge or in the freezer for any documents to help us contact next of kin or any information we might need for the hospital.
Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, never thought of that one.
No.
But I do have one, oh, now it's out of my mind because another item in between. About keeping yourself safe, about bank machines. I just thought of it in the last minute or so. a friend of mine was living at Jane and Finch, an apartment, rather vulnerable. And she'd go to the bank machine to get her money out. She did have all her ID in her purse and all that, and she learned better after that. But anyway, what we suggested to her, especially in such a vulnerable area, and she's a pretty vulnerable person, more so than average, was, okay, don't go get money out of the bank machine, go get your groceries. You need cash to do cash back at the store.
Mhm.
Like if you're at Walmart or in the grocery store, a lot of places you can do that. So you need some cash in your purse rather than going to the bank machine, just get it there that way.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. The only thing to be mindful of is just whoever's around you and sees how much cash you get and put in your wallet, but
Yeah.
that's the
of
same
course.
as at the bank, really, so. Yeah, good, thank you. Any other questions or comments or stories or funny jokes or anything else anybody wants to share? All right,
No, I think we're good. Well,
okay,
thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Lots of new information and reinforcement of things that we've heard, which is excellent. Thank you so much.
you're very
for-
welcome.
For coming.
I went over
and-
my hour though.
Yeah, that's quite all right. It was,
Thank you.
it was
Thanks,
all
Jen.
very worthwhile.
Yeah.
It was.
Thank you very much.
You're
Very
welcome.
informative.
Yeah, so I'll email you that literature, Alan, and then you can send it out. We've got some documents and different things and all of those contact numbers, especially the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center and some other agencies that we deal with. So we'll make sure that gets out to you folks.
Fantastic. Well,
All right.
thank you so much, and we'll say
Okay.
goodbye.
Okay.
And we'll be in touch. Take care.
All right. Sounds great. Bye, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Bye.
Erin. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.